afternoon. Good afternoon. Welcome in. Happy Tuesday, everybody. Welcome in. If you're in the chat, say hello. We've got a lot to talk about today. Obviously, we're like in the middle of fantasy football season. Drafts are going to be coming soon, and we have tons to dive into. And we're going to start talking some NFL futures too. I have my full NFL futures card locked in, submitted. I wanted to cap it at 20 units entered. Ended up with 21.9 units entered for 2025 NFL futures. So we're going to talk about all those over the course of the next few weeks. I'll have a blog coming out and finalized at some point this week with my favorite few of them. So we have a lot to talk about. Training camp is going. We've got actual preseason football this weekend starting Friday, I think. I don't think it's a game Thursday. I think it starts back Friday. We had the Hall of Fame game last week, which was fun. I ended up breaking even in the DFS streets. Should have been way bigger. Tried to swap onto Craig Reynolds right as lock was happening and did not end up getting Craig Reynolds onto the majority of my teams. But should have been a way bigger Hall of Fame game, to be honest. But overall, I thought Keandre Lambert-Smith really stuck out, which is no shocker. But the problem with that is it's pretty likely that the Chargers sign Keenan Allen back at this point. So that's going to cut into Lambert-Smith because right now he's the third wide receiver after Ladd McConkey, after Quentin Johnston. But adding in Keenan Allen into that fold, I'll be interested to see kind of how that affects Ladd McConkey. I don't think Ladd McConkey is exclusively, a slot receiver. If you guys have watched me or my content before, you know my thoughts on Ladd McConkey, but it does affect things a bit. So I'll be curious to kind of see how that goes. I just see this alert right here. Shadur Sanders expected to start the Browns preseason opener against the Panthers. He should get love this new time, perfect for my drives home. Awesome. Appreciate that, Ryan. Yeah, we're gonna keep alternating. We're gonna do 11 a.m. some days. We're gonna do 4 some days. But then when we get into the season, I'll try and pick whatever time I think is best, and we'll just be consistent with that time. But for right now, we're gonna do both and kind of just see how the viewership goes. I know some people can watch earlier, and some people are off work and they can watch later. So we'll see. But I appreciate the feedback. Hold on. Let me just pull up the preseason schedule here, and let's just take a look. So. Oh, okay. So we do have games Thursday. We have 3 games on Thursday. So we'll be talking these games on Thursday's stream. Colts, Ravens, Bengals, Eagles, Raiders, Seahawks. 3 games that we will be talking about on Thursday. And then Friday, there's 3 games. Saturday, there's quite a bit of games. And then Sunday, there's 2. So I'll be... I won't have any like streams or blogs or anything this weekend for the preseason, but we'll cover it Thursday on the stream. We'll cover it Friday on the stream. And then stay tuned, to my Twitter, stay tuned to Discord on the weekend. Just because I'm going to be at Fantasy Expo, so I won't have... It'll be easier the next 2 weeks of the preseason for me to do stuff on the weekend, but this weekend I will be at the Fantasy Football Expo, and I'm the only one attending it for Rolling Insights. So my focus will obviously be there. I'm doing a live draft at the Fantasy Football Expo on Saturday, so I'll try and put some content out for that on Saturday, and then do a draft review when I get back. We can talk about that on the stream next week. And yeah, Big article. If you guys have read it in the past, I'm talking about where I go round by round of who I'm interested in taking and how I'm going to build my teams. Aiming to have that out Friday night or Saturday morning. So I want to have that out prior to the Fantasy Expo. Dewan, what's up? So stay tuned to that Friday night or Saturday morning. Hopefully can have that out. I've began working on it and it will be finalized, throughout the rest of the week. Pretty excited about that. And then, I've narrowed down, the My Guys section and kind of how I want to build my team. So I'm pretty excited. We're getting into the draft season here. As far as Sanders starting the Browns game goes on Friday, I think he's going to play a lot because the Browns are very banged up at quarterback. I don't know if Dylan Gabriel will play in that game. We'll have to see. Yeah, Mitchell, I'm talking about that right now. So I don't think the Browns are banged up. I don't think Gabriel will play, maybe. And then I don't think Flacco will play. So I guess that leaves Pickett, Sanders, and Huntley, who they just signed. So we'll have to see. But yeah, Sanders starting. I'll be curious to see if it comes out, exactly how much he's going to play. But I'm sure that preseason game will do numbers in the Cleveland market. And I actually think that's on NFL Network too. It's on the national feed. So I'm sure people will be tuning in to watch Shedeur Sanders throwing to Jamari Thrash and some of those other guys. Anyways, as far as training camp stuff goes, trying to think of like the bigger news that I could cover. Mason Taylor is dealing with an injury for the Jets. Nathan, what's up? SLS Cleveland takeover this weekend. You be downtown. I will not be out. I got to work this fantasy football expo, so I will be in Canton for that this weekend. Mason Taylor getting hurt is big for the Jets because it's a high ankle sprain. Those are never good. He's going to miss some time. And I thought Mason Taylor, prior to that injury, was a pretty good late round tight end pick. I thought he was a shoo-in for the Jets starting tight end job. I thought he was the number 2 target on the offense behind Garrett Wilson. So that definitely affects things. And I'll be curious to see what they say the timetable is for that. High ankle sprain is not good. Probably takes him off my board. But we'll see. I have to evaluate things. But for injuries, that's kind of a big one. Kenneth Walker's dealing with this foot injury. It sounds to me like they're just being cautious with him, but you kind of never know with Kenneth Walker because he's struggled, with injuries basically his entire career. So, that's at least noteworthy. And I think that's it for injuries. It sounds like Justin Fields has been struggling at camp. It sounds like Caleb Williams has been struggling at camp. Those are two guys that I'm definitely lower than consensus on Caleb Williams for fantasy this year. There's other guys I'd much rather take in that range. Let me pull up ADP. What's your thoughts on ESPN buying Red Zone? Oh, it's a known fact, Nathan. They will screw it up. That is, I completely agree with you. ESPN can't do anything right, so I'm sure they will mess it up in some capacity. I'm sure they'll just have Pat McAfee doing it, or who knows, to be honest. This is underdog ADP I'm looking at. So look at quarterbacks here. Okay, this is not loading, so I'm just gonna go to a different website. Okay, so for quarterbacks, underdog ADP, Caleb Williams is currently the 12th quarterback off the board. Justin Fields is currently the 11th quarterback off the board. So for right now, I'm way lower than consensus on Caleb Williams. I would have Caleb Williams behind. So Dak goes 10. I'd rather have Dak. Purdy goes 13th. I'd much rather have Purdy than both Fields and Caleb Williams. Drake May goes 15th. I'm kind of so-so on that. But JJ McCarthy goes 17th and Jordan Love goes 18th. I'd rather have both of them over Caleb Williams. JJ McCarthy, I would much rather have. So, like I said in the promo for this stream, big fantasy update. I'm gonna have everything finalized today, I hope. But yeah, JJ McCarthy is gonna end up like 11th, I think, on my quarterback board. I think I'm gonna have him at like QB 11. I may have these guys all above like Kyler, to be honest. I don't know. I need to go through and look, but yeah, I'm gonna be way higher on McCarthy, way higher on Purdy. Definitely lower on Caleb. And then Fields, I was kind of in on him like a month or so ago. But I'm starting to get a little bit concerned when it comes to him. Fields, that is, just because when we look at Justin Fields and we look at his ceiling, it's evident how high and big the ceiling is for Justin Fields. That is not a question whatsoever. But I think the floor is lower than some people are talking about. So when I look at Justin Fields in comparison to JJ McCarthy or Brock Purdy, who I was just talking about, what's the ceiling for Fields? With his legs, he's gonna have a monster fantasy ceiling every single time he takes the field. He's gonna have, if he plays a full season, a full healthy season, right? He has 1,000 yard or more rushing upside with his legs, and that's automatically gonna make him a good fantasy option. But the floor, we don't know how this Jets offense is gonna play whatsoever. There's a very real chance that this offense is very bad. So what I don't know if Justin Fields has earned himself the kind of protection to not get benched. So I would say the floor with Justin Fields is he gets taken out and is not the Jets starter, halfway through the season if the Jets are playing terrible football, which they very likely could. But the ceiling is very high. But if we look at Brock Purdy or JJ McCarthy, we kind of know what the ceiling is there. Brock Purdy was one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL last year. He's been a viable fantasy producer in the past, and I don't think there's any risk of him getting benched whatsoever. He just got a monster contract. JJ McCarthy, another young quarterback, but the difference between McCarthy and Fields, Fields is kind of a journeyman at this point, right? Like he's fighting to show that he can be a starting quarterback in this league. JJ McCarthy was just selected high in the draft last year for the Vikings. They chose him over keeping Sam Darnold after Sam Darnold had a career year last year. And we know that Kevin O'Connell has produced great fantasy quarterback play regardless of who was at the helm of the offense, whether it be Kirk Cousins, whether it be Sam Darnold, or even whether it be Nick Mullins. We saw Nick Mullins have some big games in starts in the past few years. So I'm pretty trustworthy that whatever quarterback plugs in for Kevin O'Connell, he's going to be a viable fantasy producer. And I would say the ceiling is higher for a JJ McCarthy than a Sam Darnold because JJ McCarthy can run a little bit. And I think that the Vikings are going to use that to their advantage. I do think he will run at times. I think he has more mobility than Sam Darnold. So I would say, the ceiling is decently high, especially on that offense for McCarthy. And I don't think there's any inherent risk of him getting benched. The ceiling is very high for Brock Purdy. I don't think there's any inherent risk of him getting benched. So the fact that Justin Fields gets drafted over those two guys right now, I really can't justify taking Justin Fields because while the upside is great and higher than both of those guys, the downside is he quite literally is not the starting quarterback. midway through the season. So I'm going to be moving Justin Fields down a little bit in my rankings. Purdy, I was already higher than market on. JJ, I was already higher than market on, but I'll probably move them up even further. And then I don't know. It's like I don't want to overreact too much to camp. I'm not knocking Justin Fields down because of any reports on him in camp. It's just I've thought it out more clearly, and I do think there's risk of him, not having the job, which would affect things when we're talking about a season-long outlook. As far as Caleb Williams, I don't want to overreact to any reports of him out of camp, but it's like I kind of was concerned anyways, just because I don't know how he will operate the Ben Johnson offense. I don't think him and Jared Goff are very similar whatsoever. I think Jared Goff was a tailor-made quarterback for Ben Johnson because he is very clear and able to just follow directions, right? Jared Goff is like the most perfect game manager you could have at the NFL level. He's completely capable of running whatever offense you give him and just doing what he's told. I don't know if Caleb Williams is capable of that. Caleb Williams is the opposite of, a game manager, right? Like Caleb Williams is not going out there and looking to just follow instructions. That's not what Caleb Williams is good at. Caleb Williams is good at improvising at the quarterback position. He's good at making plays outside the pocket. He's good at making plays when the play breaks down. And that's not necessarily what Ben Johnson is looking for. Ben Johnson's offense, super sophisticated, and you don't need to do much. You just need to do as you're told. So I'm skeptical of the fit. And I was skeptical of Caleb Williams anyways coming into the NFL as a prospect. I've never seen the track pass completions in practice. Yeah, I don't really care much about it, Guru. But I already had concerns about Caleb Williams when he was selected first overall. So, I was going to be questioning him coming into the season anyways. He could certainly prove me wrong. Ben Johnson is arguably the best play caller in the NFL. He has tons of weapons at his disposal, whether it's DJ Moore, Rome Odunze, Loveland, right? Like and that's not even, they have other guys too. And they have running backs, DeAndre Swift, Roshan Johnson. Monongai looks pretty good at camp, apparently. So there's no shortage of weapons for Caleb Williams, and he has a fantastic play caller. So he could certainly come out and prove me wrong. But I would rather hitch my wagons to JJ or Brock Purdy when it comes to fantasy football this season in that range, or Dak Prescott, who goes, one or two spots ahead. Addison 3-game suspension. Not surprising, Ryan. We kind of knew a few weeks ago that he would be getting suspended. I thought it would be between 2 and 4, so 3 seems right. I think Rashee Rice is going to see a similar suspension, maybe 4 games for Rice. But we'll see. We'll see how that works out. But I think we'll probably see like 4 for him. Just off the top of my head, like looking at the other positions in terms of values that I see, ADP values, that is, I still think Chase Brown goes way too low at 23. He's moved up a little bit. I think he was going like 26 a while ago, but anything outside the top 20 is a smash for me with Chase Brown. I have Chase Brown inside the top 12 overall for the season. I think he is going to go absolutely nuclear. So I still think Chase Brown is a value at running back. I think not a lot, honestly, of running back values I see after Chase Brown. I can never quit Kenneth Walker, so I'm inherently interested in him once again. But I would be lying if I said that, I wasn't concerned with him staying healthy. I think Jordan Mason is a great pick. I think Jalen Warren is a great pick, and Caleb. Either Steelers running back, I think, is a fine pick. And then I like Jordan Mason. I like Tyrone Tracy. You guys know I liked him a lot last year. I think he is going to be the starter pretty firmly for the Giants to start the year. So I like him. I like Jaden Blue. I think he's a value right now outside the top 40 at running back. I think he will be the Cowboys starter by the end of the year. If you noticed, I took him in both of the big 17-team FSGA drafts I did a few weeks ago. I have Jaden Blue on both of those teams. And he was going even later back then. So I think he's a pretty good value. But honestly, that's where I line. I think like ideally on my teams, if I pick at the top few of the draft, I'll probably take Gibbs or Bijan and go with a kind of a hero running back build. And if I don't have a top 4 or 5 pick and I can't get Gibbs or Bijan, I'll probably take, receivers and hope that I can get Chase Brown down around where he actually gets picked. And then, I'll settle for a Kenneth Walker or some of those more mid-tier guys, Caleb Johnson, Jalen Warren, Jordan Mason, Tracy, Jaden Blue, like that whole kind of list of guys. It's kind of where I'm sitting right now. Receiver. I still like JMO where he goes. I like George Pickens and Jalen Waddle where they go. So that's kind of 3 guys that stick out to me after the top 20 or so that I think are good picks. I think Ricky Pearsall, now that we know that he's kind of good to go and seems to be over the hammy, I like Ricky Pearsall where he goes. He's going 41 right now on Underdog. All 3, I tweeted it yesterday. All 3 of the Packers receivers I think are good values, whether that be Matthew Golden, Jaden Reed, or even Romeo Doubs even later. All those guys look like pretty good picks to me. Going down further, Demario Douglas I think is a fantastic pick at wide receiver 68. I think is a joke. Demario Douglas has a very good chance to be on the My Guys list for 2025 when my article comes out. There's a very good chance that Pop Douglas is on that list. I like him a lot where he goes. Think he's a very, very good value right now. Tyreek Hill, I don't know, man. I'm not touching him. I've said this for 2 months at this point. Like before I even started looking at fantasy stuff, I was like, I don't want anything to do with Tyreek this year. Just weird situation. I think the Dolphins tried to trade him, and I don't think a single team was interested. So the Dolphins kept him. I have questions about his abilities. I mean, we saw him do that race a while ago. He can run in a straight line really fast still, but I don't know. Can he still cut? That remains to be seen. I don't know. It could burn me because he's going. I don't even think it can burn me. He goes wide receiver 12 right now. I'll just go out and say that's just a bad pick, in my opinion. I'd rather have anyone above him, that being Drake London. I'd rather have Drake London, who goes 3 spots higher. I'd rather have T. Higgins, who goes 1 spot later. I'd rather have Jackson Smith-Njigba, who goes 4 spots later. I don't really like him much. I'm probably going to fade Marv again, too. Kind of hurts me just being an Ohio State fan, but I was kind of off of him last year. And I'm going to be off him again this year, I think, where he goes. I'd much rather have JSN or T. Higgins, who go around Marv. I honestly would probably rather have – I'd probably eat like, let's say he gets suspended 4 games. I'd rather have Rashee Rice than Marv. I don't know. I'm high on the Cardinals this year, but probably not going to be a Marv fantasy year for me. Are you watching Hard Knocks? I'll probably watch it. I usually watch it. I'll probably check it out. Oh, there was another running back. There's some late running backs that I like a lot this year that I think are no-brainers, but there was one other guy I wanted to talk about. I can't remember, though. Tight end, I think Colston Loveland going tight end 12 is a great pick. I like him. If you can't get one of Bowers, Kittle, McBride, who's my top three, I would be targeting Loveland. I would be targeting, honestly, Loveland, probably my favorite. Kincaid and Ferguson are fine. Buffalo, man, I was on Kincaid last year, if you guys remember, and he didn't really pan out, but he did have his biggest games when Khalil Shakir was out. Khalil Shakir's already banged up, high ankle sprain. He's going to miss some time. I think it's fine to question if he'll be ready for week 1, Khalil Shakir. And then other than that, like the Bills playmakers do not inspire like any confidence. I still think there's room for Kincaid to take a step forward, even though he did not do anything last year. Like Shakir, like I said, he's already banged up. Keon Coleman, he could be good, maybe. I don't know. Josh Palmer, he kind of is what he is. He's already banged up. And they don't really have like anyone else. Elijah Moore, I don't know. This is like a legitimately bad receiver group. So I still think like Kincaid could take a step forward. I'm interested in him where he goes. So if I can't get one of those big three, I'm probably double tapping Kraft, Loveland, Kincaid, Ferguson, that range. Probably just taking 2 of them. I like Brenton Strange late. He goes tight end 20 right now. I would have been unlikely, but with this toe, I'll probably avoid. Probably avoid that. Yeah, I don't know. But that's kind of my thoughts right now on position by position. Like I said, I should have the rankings kind of fully updated by tonight with these changes that we've been talking about, and then big article will be coming out soon. I'm pretty excited. I'm really excited, actually. Other than that, I don't really know if we have much to talk about. Like I said, tomorrow we will stream at 11, and I will be. I'll have Steve on, so we'll have lots to talk about there. Thursday, I'll probably do the afternoon stream again so that we can talk for the football games. And then Friday will have to be an 11 stream because there are some stuff. There is some stuff rather for the Fantasy Football Expo Friday afternoon. So that's kind of the schedule for the rest of the week. As far as other updates goes, fantasy rankings should be coming soon. Fully updated, that is. Big article coming. NFC previews are almost done. Those should be up tonight or tomorrow night, or tomorrow morning, rather. Those are almost done. And then we'll just have the futures article coming too. I guess we didn't talk futures really. So let's do that a little bit. I don't want to give them all out, but what should we start with? Oh, also, I tweeted this earlier. Does anybody have a guess? Week 1, if we look at the board for week 1, I already have my favorite bet locked in. Does anybody have a guess as to what it is? It's a side, not a total, not talking touchdowns or anything yet. We're talking a side, week 1. Someone in the chat, give me a couple guesses. And I will reveal it to you guys. And then we'll talk a couple futures too. Eagles -7. That was your one guess from Ryan there. Okay. Does anybody else have a guess they'll throw out? Something with Cleveland. Let's see. Falcons. Falcons is a good guess, honestly. I may be on the Falcons week 1. I don't know. I got to think about that. I may be on them week 1. I'm very high on the Falcons this season. They're one of the teams I'm the highest on relative to the market. Chargers +3. I'm pretty high on the Chiefs this year, Nathan. I'm gonna be honest with you. I think they're gonna be back. I think they hit on their linemen that they drafted. I think they have some good weapons. Obviously, Rice is going to be suspended to start the year, but that doesn't say I won't bet against the Chiefs. I'm sure I probably will at some point, but I am pretty high on the Chiefs this year. Jags over Panthers, -2.5. Interesting, good pick. Dewan was the closest though. Dewan was right. Something with Cleveland. I think my favorite bet for week 1 right now, Cincinnati Bengals -5.5 in Cleveland. The Bengals have lost to the Browns week 1 each of the last 2 seasons, I believe. Let me fact check myself there. Let me fact check that. I know they did last year. So 2024, 2 years ago. So let's see. So last year, let's go back, 2023. Yes, 2023, the Cleveland Browns were underdogs against the Bengals. They won 24-3. They absolutely destroyed them. Okay, they didn't play. Okay, so maybe it wasn't week 1, but 2 years ago, week 1, the Browns beat them as underdogs. And Joe Burrow also has a terrible record against the Browns in general. I think he's like 3-5. Yes, Joe Burrow 3-5 career against the Cleveland Browns, and then they played week 1 2 years ago. Cleveland was underdogs and won 24-3. I can just tell you firsthand, the Cincinnati Bengals are going to be waiting for the Browns on September 7th because the narrative surrounding the Bengals, and I don't even like the Bengals this year. If you guys watch me, I actually hate the Bengals, like their team. I always short them. They haven't made the playoffs in 2 years, but I always short them. I always talk smack about them. Their team is not good. They have like 4 good players on their team. Joe Burrow, T. Higgins, Jamar Chase, Chase Brown, Trey Hendrickson. Yeah, they have like 5 good players on their team. And I hate Zach Taylor. So I actually do not like the Bengals whatsoever. But the Bengals are going to be waiting for the Browns this year. The Bengals always suck to start the year. If we look at last season, Cincy, they start off 0-3. Actually, they start off 1-4, including an 0-3. They lost to New England as big favorites at home in week 1. If we go back to 2023, they started 1-3 and 0-2, and they lost to Cleveland as favorites in week 1. And if we go back to, so it's the last 2 seasons. They have really sucked to get out of the gate. There's no way that they're not doing that again this year. Now, will they win their other games? I have no idea. Let me see what their schedule looks like. They play Cleveland, Jacksonville, Minnesota, at Minnesota, at Denver, Detroit. Yeah, they have a tough schedule. So even more so, they need to win this first game. They need to beat the Browns. The Browns are not going to be good. I've told you this. You guys know. I'm going to be betting the Browns under win total. It's going to be my biggest future I've ever taken in my life. The Browns are not going to be good. And the Bengals always start slow. They have a tough schedule after the first week, and they need to get a win. So I think they are going to be coming in this game ready to play, and I just have zero faith in this Browns team, like whatsoever. I think this team is going to be so bad. So Bengals -5.5. I may take like a team total. Obviously, that's not up yet, but Bengals team total might be a move too. I don't know, but again, this could change. I haven't submitted the bet, but as of right now, I don't see how I don't bet the Bengals in week 1. As far as futures go, we'll start off with to make the playoffs, and I'll give you my 2 favorites. And both of these are going to be 2-unit plays for me. 2 units to make the playoffs, first and foremost, the Arizona Cardinals. Second, the Atlanta Falcons. They're back-to-back on this list. I love both of these teams this year. I think the NFC is wide open after Philly. First of all, it's hard to repeat year to year, which we've seen countless times. So even though I kind of root for the Eagles because of Jalen Hurts, and I've rooted for the Eagles the last few years, it's still hard for them to go back-to-back. So, I think the NFC is wide open after them. I'm not super high on Detroit. I'm going to be honest with you. I think San Fran has an extremely winnable schedule, but I'm not sure how high I am on them defensively. I think there's a lot of question marks there for them to answer. Maybe they will answer them. I don't know. But after Philly, I'm not sold on San Fran. I'm not sold on Detroit. So that kind of gets to this tier of Washington, LA, Green Bay, Minnesota, Arizona, Atlanta. Like, these are the teams that I'm really interested in, and we're going to see a few of them obviously make the playoffs. Now, the Rams have the biggest disadvantage of all these teams because their quarterback is already hurt. It sounds to me like they're just being cautious with Matt Stafford, but I would be lying if I said an old quarterback that can't even get on the field whatsoever right now because of his back, like, that would worry me a little bit as a Rams backer. So it probably takes them out for me. So I like Green Bay a lot. I like Minnesota a lot. I like Arizona, and I like Atlanta. I think all those teams will be playoff teams come playoff time. Arizona, I think they're going to have a really good defense. I think there's room for their offense to continue to ascend. I think they're well coached. I think they can win this division. I think they'll be competing, especially if Matt Stafford does re-injure his back once the season starts. If he ends up missing any time, that is a drop off to Jimmy Garoppolo. So I like Arizona a lot. I just like their team makeup. Atlanta is the team I'm most high on because I would not be shocked if the Buccaneers took a step back. I've never been the biggest Todd Bowles fan. They're replacing their coordinator for the third year in a row, right? They had Dave Canales. He left, went to Carolina. They brought in Liam Cohen. He left and went to Jacksonville. Can they do it for a third year in a row? I don't know. Eventually, Mike Evans is going to hit the age cliff. As much as Mike Evans is arguably my favorite NFL player of the modern times of me watching football. But at some point, Father Time will catch up to him. Chris Godwin is going to miss time to start the season. The Buccaneers have a very tough schedule. So I think that puts them at a disadvantage. The Saints are just flat out terrible. I don't care about the Saints. And the Panthers could be good, could be bad. I think there's room for the Falcons to really take a step forward this season. I like what they have going on offensively. I'm a big Michael Penix fan. You guys know this. We made so much money betting on him at Washington that last year he was there. I thought he should have started basically to start the season last year. It didn't necessarily work out statistically when they went to him, but overall, I think the team played fine with him at quarterback last year. He should do much better this year with a full offseason, knowing he's the starter, coming into camp as the starter, building that rapport with the playmakers. Drake London, Bijan Robinson, Tyler Algier, Kyle Pitts, Darnell Mooney. He's got a no shortage of weapons. I love what they did in the draft. I don't love the trades they made to go get the players. I thought they gave up way too much, but this team was completely devoid of a pass rush, and they addressed that in a big way in the draft. So I think Atlanta can take a huge step forward. I think they can certainly win this division, and I think they're going to be playing playoff football this year. I love them at plus 134, and I like them to win the NFC South as well. So Arizona and Atlanta, both 2-unit plays to make the playoffs. I will be taking both of those. I will be betting both of those to win their division, and I'm pretty excited about it. So we'll talk more futures throughout the rest of the week, whether it be Offensive Player of the Year, Super Bowl, MVP, all that good stuff. We'll talk about it each stream. 11 a.m. stream tomorrow, 4 p.m. on Thursday to talk preseason, and then 11 a.m. Friday. That's the schedule for the rest of the week. Thank you guys for tuning in. I will see you guys tomorrow morning. Good luck tonight if you're betting or playing DFS, any of that. And I'll see everybody tomorrow.